Have you ever felt overwhelmed even while doing everything right? Like you're pouring energy into everyone else, but forgetting yourself in the process. Maybe you've been living on autopilot, putting out fires, trying to please, trying to hold everything together, while quietly falling apart inside. The truth is, most people aren't exhausted from doing too little, they're exhausted from being disconnected from themselves. What if what you lack isn't strength, but focus? What if all this rushing around is just a way to avoid what truly matters? What if instead of trying to control the outside world, all you needed was to return to your inner world? Focus on yourself, not out of selfishness, but emotional survival. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes invincible when it stays with itself." Maybe you've been looking for answers everywhere, except where they really are, within. If this topic found you today, it's not by accident. If you've made it here, maybe this is exactly what you needed to hear to shift how you live, think, and feel. So subscribe to this channel now. What we're about to explore can bring the kind of clarity that changes everything. You'll learn how to silence the external chaos and awaken the strength that was always there, just forgotten. Welcome back to your center. Let's begin. Have you noticed how the world constantly demands your attention? Notifications, expectations, comparisons, pressures. It's like modern life requires you to always be available, always reacting. But there's a hidden cost. You drift further from yourself. Silence, once your refuge, now feels uncomfortable. And this absence of inner presence begins to take its toll. Epictetus warned us, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them." When you live in constant reaction to the outside, you lose your inner filter. Everything feels urgent, everything feels like pressure, and soon you're living a life not shaped by your values, but by other people's demands. External noise becomes your new master, and you its servant. Focusing on yourself isn't escaping the world, it's returning home. It's reclaiming command over your mind and realizing that your life's worth isn't determined by algorithms, compliments, or likes. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Withdraw into yourself. There is nowhere that a man can find a more peaceful and trouble-free retreat than in his own soul." Think of the times you stayed silent, not out of weakness but wisdom. Remember the peace you felt even when things weren't perfect. That's because true power doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from mastering your response to it. That's what Stoicism teaches. The less you need external approval, the freer you become within. Start small. Before giving in to the next notification, pause. Before reacting to the next insult, breathe. Before explaining yourself to someone who doesn't understand, ask, "Is this really necessary?" Most of the answers you seek outside only arise when you create space inside. Silence isn't emptiness, it's reconnection. Now that you understand the value of tuning out the noise to return to yourself, drop a comment below. Can you sit in silence? Or does your mind still run when you're alone with it? Right, I choose the silence that strengthens me. Have you ever noticed how the smallest things can throw you off? A strange look, a message left unread, a careless comment, and suddenly your whole day feels poisoned. That's not bad luck. That's the reflection of what's happening inside you. When your inner world is disorganized, any wind feels like a storm. The problem isn't the wind, it's how shaky your foundation is. Seneca said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." What he meant is that most chaos doesn't come from life itself, but from how you interpret it. And those interpretations often come from a neglected, overwhelmed, and reactive mind. You don't control what the world throws at you, but you have full command over what you absorb or don't. It's like being inside a house during a storm. If the house is strong, the wind is just background noise. But if the roof is weak and the windows are loose, everything outside becomes a threat. The same is true for your mind. Stoicism is the art of strengthening your inner home so the world can scream, but you remain in peace. You might ask, so how do I organize my inner world? It starts with awareness. Observe which thoughts throw you off, what reactions are automatic, what fears are you feeding daily. You can only transform what you first become conscious of. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Stoic practice is simple but powerful. Turn inward before reacting outward. Create a pause between the trigger and the response. That's where wisdom lives. When you become stronger inside, the world may still try to shake you, but you're no longer a leaf in the wind. You become a tree with deep roots. To remain calm in chaos is the highest form of strength. How many times have you tried to fix everything on your own? Tried to prevent problems, control reactions, predict outcomes, please everyone, only to end up more exhausted, frustrated, and anxious? It's like trying to hold water with your hands. The harder you squeeze, the more slips through. The need for control disconnects you from peace. Because peace doesn't come from managing life, it comes from accepting it. Epictetus was clear. Some things are up to us, and some are not. Wisdom lies in knowing the difference. But how often do you forget this and try to control what's beyond your reach? You try to change others, rewrite the past, predict the future, all at once. That's not strength, that's self-destruction. Most anxiety is born not from chaos but from the illusion of control. When you understand that letting go isn't weakness but liberation, something shifts inside. The mind becomes less of a battlefield and more of a sanctuary. You realize the world doesn't need to fit your expectations for you to feel okay. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept what is given by the nature of things, and love sincerely what happens to you." Imagine yourself in a river. Trying to control everything is like swimming against the current, exhausting, futile, and painful. Stoicism invites you to swim with awareness, not resistance. That's balance. That's emotional maturity. Letting go isn't giving up. It's choosing to move with life instead of fighting it. You can start now. Next time something upsets you, ask, do I really need to control this? Breathe before acting. Pause before reacting. Shift your question from, how can I fix this, to, how can I respond with clarity? This single shift rewires your inner world, and in that space, peace is born, the kind that no external chaos can touch. If this spoke to you, drop a comment. What are you still trying to control that you need to release? Write, I let go of what I can't control. It's hard to accept, but necessary. No one is coming to save you. Not your family, not your friends, not a perfect relationship or a lucky break. Most people are so consumed by their own problems that they barely notice the silent pain of others. And the longer you wait for someone to pull you out, the weaker you become inside. Strength isn't about being carried. It's about learning to stand even with shaky legs. Seneca said, the more someone depends on external help, the less strength they develop within. That's not a punishment. It's a wake-up call. Because as long as you wait for life to improve, for people to change, or for luck to strike, you'll remain stuck. True rescue begins the moment you act, even without all the answers, especially without them. At first, it feels lonely. It hurts to realize some people won't show up for you the way you showed up for them. But that pain is also cleansing. It strips away the illusions and reveals what's real. And when everything collapses, what remains is what you truly have. Your mind, your attitude, your decisions. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, look within. The wellspring of good lies within you, and it will keep flowing if you just keep digging. Rescuing yourself means saying, even if no one gets it, I'm choosing to rise. It's waking up on a hard day and deciding not to abandon yourself. It's refusing to trade your dignity just to hold on to fragile connections. The biggest betrayal isn't what others do to you. It's what you do to yourself when you give up on who you are. But when you return to yourself, you become untouchable from within. That's the heart of Stoicism, self-mastery. You don't control people's loyalty or life's surprises, but you control how much of yourself you give or protect. And when your peace is no longer for sale, something new awakens inside you, something no crisis can steal. Your essence, restored by the courage to not walk away from yourself. You're not born calm. You don't just wake up one day as an unshakable rock. Calm isn't a gift. It's a discipline. It's the result of repeated choices, not reacting in anger, breathing before snapping, observing before judging. Most people believe calm people are simply born that way. But that's a lie we tell ourselves to excuse our own impulsiveness. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly. That includes inner peace. An agitated mind is like a wild horse. If you don't learn to rein it in, it will drag you. But with discipline, it starts responding to your direction. And the more you practice self-control, the more it becomes part of your nature. Being calm doesn't mean feeling nothing. It means being fully aware. Training calm is like building a muscle. It takes repetition, attention, and patience. In the beginning, you'll fail. You'll lose your temper. You'll regret your words. That's part of it. Each failure shows you where the imbalance still lives. Each time you pause instead of lashing out, you become more in control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If something external disturbs you, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." Calm is not weakness. It's refined strength. It's wisdom in motion. It's the daily decision not to let the world dictate the tone of your soul. While others yell, you observe. While others react, you respond, not out of fear, but maturity. Because a calm mind sees further, chooses better, and lives lighter. And that cannot be bought. It must be built. You can start right now. The next time something irritates you, ask, "Is this worth my breakdown?" Breathe before you speak. Wait before you act. Watch your tone, your impulses, your posture. With practice, reactivity transforms into presence. And in presence, true calm is born. Not because life is quiet, but because you are. If this spoke to you, comment below. Have you been training your calm, or still reacting on impulse? Right. My peace is the result of daily practice. Have you noticed how life seems to push harder when you're already off balance? Like everything goes wrong at once, and people seem to know exactly how to hit where it hurts. That's not random. When you're disconnected from yourself, the world senses it and tests your weak spots. People manipulate, environments drain you, and even minor criticisms feel like personal attacks. It's like bleeding in the water. It attracts sharks. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul is dyed by the color of your thoughts." If your mind is cloudy, your view of life will be distorted. You'll see problems where there are lessons, enemies where there are mirrors, pressure where there could be growth. Stoicism teaches us to change that lens. Before blaming the world, ask yourself, where have I abandoned myself? Because sometimes the chaos outside just echoes the neglect inside. Reconnecting with yourself isn't just a feel-good idea. It's a survival skill. It's looking in the mirror and recognizing who you are, what you feel, and what you need. It's stopping the chase for external validation. It's living with integrity, even when no one's watching. Because when you're aligned with your essence, the world may still try to knock you down, but it won't know where to strike. You start realizing that criticism reveals more about the critic. That attacks only hurt when they find unhealed wounds. That the respect you get from others mirrors the respect you give to yourself. And slowly, the world stops being a battlefield and becomes a reflection. The more you know yourself, the less others can confuse you. But reconnection takes courage. It means sitting with pain, reviewing your choices, re-establishing boundaries, forgiving yourself. It's not always fast. Sometimes it's not easy, but it's always freeing. Because the moment you return to yourself, the world no longer controls your worth. You become unshakable, not because you don't feel, but because you understand. Life doesn't fall apart all at once. It unravels quietly, the moment you stop paying attention to yourself. When you start saying yes to everything that pulls you away from your center. When you begin doing what others expect, but forget what you truly need. Then one day you wake up feeling confused, tired, and empty, without even knowing how you got there. Distraction hides in routine and slowly disconnects you from yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Stop being distracted. Your task is to be good." But how can you be good? To yourself, to others, to life, if you're running on autopilot? Distraction today isn't just too much information. It's the absence of presence. It's being in 1,000 places, but fully in none. Doing 1,000 things, yet never what matters most, taking care of your inner world. Have you felt that? That constant busyness with no real direction. Like something inside you is quietly waiting for you. Waiting for attention, for respect, for care, for silence. Because every time you drift from yourself, life loses its center. Relationships get confusing. Goals become pressure. and your body starts screaming what your soul has been whispering. Returning to yourself is a quiet act of courage. It's saying, enough, I'm going to listen to what I feel. It's realizing you don't need more tasks, but more clarity. If you're aligned within, the outside starts falling into place. But if you're scattered inside, nothing out there will ever feel enough. True peace isn't something you find later. It's something you build now, with intention. Stoicism teaches that living well means living on purpose, doing what's right, even without applause, choosing what uplifts you even when it's harder. And the moment you realign, life starts to flow, not because the world changed, but because you finally took your place back in it. And in that place, you begin to feel whole again. If this made sense to you, share in the comments. What's been distracting you from yourself lately? Right. Today I return to me. Today I realign with who I am. How many times have you felt something was wrong, even before you could explain it? Like your body, your heart, or your soul were trying to warn you, but you ignored it. That's not mysticism. That's inner sensitivity. Life always sends signals, but to hear them you need stillness. And the problem is we're so surrounded by noise we forget how to listen to our own truth. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And wasting time isn't just procrastination, it's living disconnected. It's following advice that doesn't align with who you are, holding on to relationships that already showed every sign of draining you, clinging to routines that slowly make your soul sick. The signs were there, but to see them you need to pause, breathe, and notice. You only see clearly when the dust in your mind begins to settle. That doesn't happen in a rush. It doesn't happen in anxiety. It happens when you choose to stop, to reflect, to empty. Silence isn't a destination. It's fertile ground, and in that ground, forgotten truths begin to bloom. That's where Stoicism invites you to live, not in confusion, but in wisdom. How often has pain come as a last resort? As life's way of screaming, "You're not paying attention." Sometimes the fall is just the echo of everything you refuse to face while still standing. But when you learn to be silent before life forces you to be, everything changes. You start noticing the subtle signs, the constant fatigue, the disguised discomfort, the emptiness that follows every win. Stoic practice is, above all, a return to lucidity. It's stepping out of survival mode and into a life of intention. It's learning to hear what's not being said, to align with what's essential, before life forces you to through pain. Pain may teach, but silence reveals. And when you learn to listen in silence, you begin to live with clarity, lightness, and depth. Now that you understand how Stoicism can bring clarity, strength, and self-mastery back into your life, you may have realized that what made you suffer wasn't life itself, but how you were trying to deal with it. You no longer need to chase everything, nor please everyone. When you align with who you truly are, everything begins to take a different shape. The pain still exists, but it no longer controls you. So here's the question: what habit can you change today just by seeing it differently? Maybe it's the habit of comparison, the impulse to react, or the pattern of abandoning yourself to please others. Or maybe it's something simpler, the need to listen to yourself more. It doesn't matter where you start. What matters is that you do. Wisdom doesn't live in tomorrow. It begins with the step you decide to take today. If this message brought you clarity, peace, or a new perspective, subscribe to this channel now, because every week you'll find insights to help you live with more presence, emotional wisdom, and inner freedom. And remember, if this helped you today, imagine what's still coming. May you return to yourself every time the world tries to pull you away, because life may try to knock you down, but if you're anchored within, it never truly will.